Welcome, students, to another chapter in political science, that is, chapter number 3, Political Parties. In this chapter, we will be looking at the different political parties of India. This chapter is presented by Grecienne Misquitta. The images used in this video are taken from different internet sites. Our different learning objectives in this chapter will be the meaning of political parties, the characteristics or functions of political parties, nature of political parties in India, difference between national parties and regional parties, and we are going to look at one particular party, that is the Indian National Congress. The next party we will be looking at is the Communist Party of India. Ancient India saw the birth of many civilizations. One being a very well-known civilization, that is the Indus Valley civilization. We also saw the emergence of different dynasties, one being in the ancient India, that is the Gupta dynasty. Medieval India saw the rise and fall of many other dynasties like the Chalukyas, the Pallavas, the Pandyas, the Rashtrakutas, etc. After which we saw the Mughal invasion of India and Akbar, as known as Akbar the Great, succession and rule over large states of India. We also know about the rise of a new king in the Deccan as Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, who established the Maratha Empire. Modern India around the 16th and 17th century made us realize that many European traders came to India but later established their power over India and made it one of their colonies. We have seen that the political scenario of India has undergone large changes, from monarchical rule to outside rulers ruling over our country. In your school and the surroundings, you must have seen some groups, institutions, organizations working to achieve some objective. Some organizations take initiative in resolving social problems. There are different social organizations in our country. For example, we have religious organizations which include temples, mosques, churches, etc. Educational organizations which comprise of schools, colleges, universities, etc. Financial organizations like the bank. And then we also have the political organization, that is different political parties which help in governing our country. There is a difference in the between of political parties and other social organizations of our society. The difference is in the goals and styles of working of a political parties and the other organizations. Political parties emerged in India due to the concept of democracy. Political parties link common people to the government, where elections are held and people choose their own representative to come into power. Political party is basically an organized group of people who have an objective of gaining political power, and thus they participate in the electoral process or also known as elections. Such an organization is called a political party. Let's look at the different functions or characteristics of these political parties. The first characteristic is to be in power. One of the main goals or achievement of any political party is to achieve power. There are many political parties that are formed in India. Thus, a competition for power between these parties exists. This competition is carried out through elections. There is nothing wrong with competitions, but these competitions should be fair. The second characteristic is to pursue an ideology. Every party has their own objective and views or certain social issues they deal with. This makes it their party ideology, and they stand by those views or ideas. If any person who accepts a specific party's ideology becomes a supporter or accepts the party. Social support, also known as public support, received by a political party is called mass base. In modern times, every political party's ideology seems to be similar, thus making it very difficult to differentiate between these parties. The third characteristic is the party agenda. Every political party have their own party agenda based on their party's ideology. This agenda is put into action once they receive political power, or even if they don't receive political power, thus they try to get the support of the public or the people to this agenda. The fourth characteristic is to establish a government. Every political party wants to come into power and establish their government in the country in order to govern or rule the nation. The political party which receives a majority of votes in the elections wins the election and forms the government. Whereas the party which does not receive a majority of votes loses the elections and becomes the opposition, also known as the opposition party. The fifth characteristic is to act as the link between the people and the government. People give vote to a political party who will voice their problems to the government and help them resolve it. Thus, political parties put forward the demands and complaints of the people to the government. In the same way, if the government wants to implement or introduce programs or policies, they receive this support from the people. The next topic we will be talking about is the changing nature of political party systems in India. The Indian National Congress came into existence since 1985. It was a single political party that was created during the independence era and continued to stay a strong political party in the post-independence period as well. It had a huge majority and got support from the central government, and the Indian politics was controlled largely by the Congress party. The era or period was described as the era of single dominant party system. In the 1970s, after the emergency period was declared by our Prime Minister back then, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, the party started losing its importance. Thus, in 1977, re-elections were held where Morarji Desai's government challenged the Congress government and they won that elections. In 1989, after the Lok Sabha elections, the one-party system came to an end as different parties came together to form coalition government. The meaning of coalition government is basically where two or more political parties form an alliance and they rule the country together. Both the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Congress Party made an experiment of establishing the coalition government. In fact, the coalition government system is very stabilized in India. One party system. One party system basically means the power remains with one political party for a long period of time and there is no other influence of any other political parties. One example of one party system is the Communist Party of China. Two party systems basically means where only two major political parties have influence in a democracy and they enjoy power alternatively with no other opposition parties fighting for it. One example of two-party system is found in America. Multi-party system is the existence of many political parties in a democracy competing for power. It is not dominated or ruled by one single party or two parties. Many political parties have their own influence in the democracy. One example of multi-party system in India is where many political parties exist in one democracy. Let's look at another topic, that is the divisions in parties, that is the national parties and the regional parties. National parties are those parties which is recognized and has received votes in four or more states. They should receive at least 6% of the votes in those states during the Lok Sabha elections or the state assembly elections. And at least 4 members should be elected in Lok Sabha in the previous elections that were held. Or the candidates of a party should be elected from minimum 2% constituencies out of the total Lok Sabha constituencies and from minimum 3 states. What is the meaning of constituencies? Constituencies basically mean a group of voters in a specific area who elect a person to a legislative body. Examples of national parties in India are the Indian National Congress, Bahujan Samaj Party, Communist Party of India, Marxist, etc. Regional parties. A regional party is basically any political party formed within a region or a state. Most of these parties are formed for working towards the welfare of the state. To be recognized as a political party of that particular region, the Election Commission has prescribed certain guidelines or rules. The political party should gain or receive at least 6% votes in the earlier Lok Sabha or state assembly elections, and minimum 2 members should be elected in the Vidhan Sabha, which is also known as the state assembly. The political parties should secure at least minimum 3% of the seats out of the total seats in the Vidhan Sabha or the state assembly, or minimum 3 seats. Examples of regional parties in India is The Mizo National Front in Mizoram, Shiv Sena, that is in Maharashtra, Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, DMK in Tamil Nadu, and many more regional parties are formed across the country of India. The Indian National Congress was formed in the year 1885. It had taken control over the political scenario for independence from the Britishers. In 1885, we had Vyomesh Chandra Banerjee, who became the president of the Indian National Congress, followed by many renowned leaders who fought and struggled during the independence phase. Some of the leaders are Dadabhai Navroji, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Mahatma Gandhi, etc. After the Rowlatt Act was passed in 1919, Gandhi began a part of the Congress Party. He began the non-cooperation movement, and many people across the country began the civil disobedience movement. In 1929, the All India Congress Committee was formed to avoid the payment of taxes in order to protest against the British rule. After World War II began in 1939, Britain wanted Indian soldiers to fight in the war. This angered Indian officials, and the Congress Party declared that it would not fight in the war and demanded for complete and full independence. After the Quit India movement of 1942, British authorities imprisoned the entire Congress Party leaders, including Mahatma Gandhi, and kept them in jail until 1945. After the war getting over in 1945, the British government, who was handling the leader back then, Clement Attlee, he passed an independence bill for India in 1947. After independence, the Congress emerged as the most dominant political party. The Congress Party, from the beginning itself, followed the policy of secularism. What is secularism? Secularism means no discrimination on the grounds or basis of religion. It also focused on the all round development of the country, that is, economic factor, social factor, educational factor, etc. Equal rights should be given to all, including the minorities. Who are the minorities? Minorities are those group of people who represent half or less than half of the community in the country. For examples, the Jains, the Buddhists, Christians, etc. are some minority communities of our country, as well as equal rights and welfare for the people of the disadvantaged groups of our country. The disadvantaged groups include Dalits, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, etc. Congress has also organized different programs for housing, for the farmers, etc. The Congress Party believes in socialism. Socialism basically means for the welfare of the society and the people. Social equality and international peace. When we say international peace, it basically means maintaining good relations and international brotherhood. Rajiv Gandhi was the son of Indira Gandhi, who took over the post of being a prime minister in 1984 after the assassination or death of Indira Gandhi. He also was killed in the year 1989. In 1998, Sonia Gandhi became the Congress Party president. And now, in the past few years, Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister of India under the Congress Party from the year 2004 to 2014. Right now, as well, we have Sonia Gandhi as the Congress Party President. The next party we will be looking at is the Communist Party of India. The Communist Party of India was established in the year 1925 in Kanpur, present day Uttar Pradesh. It is based on the ideology of communism. Communism is an economic theory that speaks for a no class society or a classless society where property is owned by the community and every individual contributes and receives as per his/her abilities and needs. This is one of the older parties of India. The Communist Party of India gained popularity after independence in 1947. The party basically worked for the welfare of the laborers and workers. It opposed the concept of capitalism. Capitalism basically means private ownership. When the party was established in 1925, the General Secretary of the party was S.V. Ghate. The party, the party later on was focused on different objectives such as equality for women, nationalization of private industries and companies, justice for the lower castes, especially the untouchables, due to which the party gained more popularity after independence. However, in the 1960s, the Communist Party of India was losing its influence on the country. It was defeated in the elections held in Kerala through a Congress coalition. However, in 1964, the ideologies of the members in the parties did not match anymore. This ideological differences was between the Soviet Union Communists and the Chinese Communists, which gave rise to another Communist Party in 1964. That was called the Communist Party of India, Marxist. This party focused on or followed the Marxism ideology or ideas. Well, students, let's discuss quickly these questions and see if we can answer them based on our understanding of the video. The first question: what do you understand by political parties? Well, we understand that political parties are a link that connects common people, democracy, representations, and elections. Do you think it is necessary for us to have different political parties? Well, what do you think? Yes, you are right. It is necessary for us to have different political parties because we live in a democratic country. Hence, one party system would not work for a country like ours. Therefore, it is necessary for us to have a multi party system in our country. What is the difference between national parties and regional parties? National parties are those parties which is recognized and has received votes in 4 or more states of our country. What are regional parties? Regional party is any political party that is formed in a region or a state and is developed for the welfare of that particular region or state. When was the Indian National Congress formed? You are right. It was formed in the year 1885. Which party did the Communist Party of India split into? The Communist Party of India split into the Communist Party of India, Marxist Party. I think you could answer all of these questions very well because you paid attention. Thank you, students. Hope you enjoyed this video and understood the first part of the chapter number 3, Political Parties in Political Science of Standard 10th.